Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Moala River School District meeting, business meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first up, we have a special recognition of somebody that's been in our district for a while, or working alongside with our district for a while, and highly respected.
He also says,
He snuck away.
I think he was out in the hallway.
Oh.
Hopefully didn't get called out to a call.
He doesn't want the recognition. Welcome. I was just saying that we have a special recognition for you for the time and efforts and all the relationship building that you've done here in the district, and all the respect that staff, students, and all the community members, grandparents, parents have I've heard them say that they have a peace of mind having you here in the district. So we thank you for everything that you've done. And would you like to say anything?
Yeah, it's been an honor. It's a great district to work for. I've said this many times that I work with all the SROs in the entire county, and it's an awesome district. You guys do good work. You work together. Everyone's got their differences, but ultimately we all have the same goal. And as an agency, like it's not hard to work with you guys. So thank you for that, because I can't say that's the same across the board. So just to be able to bring things up and problem solve and work together, it's been a pleasure. So it's been an honor for 5 years. I'm excited for the next phase. Jeff's going to do a phenomenal job already day one. I mean, literally, I feel like I was supposed to babysit him, but I would too. And so it's just, I'm really excited for the next phase. And it's bittersweet because, love you guys and I love this position. Definitely care about the kids and families, but Jeff's got a huge heart for the kids and for the families. And so you guys are in good hands. So it should be a continuous relationship. So yeah, so thank you guys. It's been an honor. And,
Officer Casab, Chair McNeil presents you with this plaque of our appreciation. I'll take a quick photo.
Small token.
thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Crossed paths in a previous life.
Thank you.
He began his career working in schools.
Thank you.
One of the things that I really appreciate about Officer Casab is that he began his career serving children, working with kids and children as a support staff member, if I'm not mistaken, in the Centennial School District or Gladstone, or excuse me, Reynolds. You were in the Reynolds School District for a period of time.
Yeah, I actually worked with them. Yeah, that was a school bus driver.
Working with kids,
When it's about kids and relationship, and then decided to become an officer. And Officer Casab has been the finest SRO with whom I've ever worked. And to be able to hand that off to another individual who also began his career working with kids and young people, not as an officer, but as a key support staff member at Malal High School. Officer Hillhouse is going to join us in this new role, and we just couldn't be happier. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Anything you want to say, Officer Hillhouse?
I just want to echo, what Emil said, and he's really left me with just an awesome platform to kind of spring off of. And so I'm grateful for all the work he's done over the last 5 years, and it's kind of filled me in on the connections And so, yeah, feel free to reach out as far as if you guys have ideas as well. We share a very similar heart on wanting to impact the youth of our community and utilize this position the best we can. Safety, of course, is priority, and we want our schools to feel safe as well. So, but we know it starts with relationships. So everything that happens in this room is key, so that we can jump from there. So, yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to kind of get to meet all of you the best I can. So, well,
Okay, next up we have public comment. Tonight we have Mitch Kraft speaking.
Hello, board. Again.
Hello.
Good to see everybody. Dr. Matt, Lori. So my story begins when I was about 11 years old. My mom and dad were divorced. And I can remember 4 days a week, my mom would meet us in the kitchen and we would make lunches. We'd make a sandwich. We'd go to the store with her. We'd pick out what our snacks were. And my brother and my sister and I, that's how we were raised. 4 days a week, we'd go and make lunch. And 1 day a week, we picked whatever day it was. We got to pick it. Cheese pizza day, corn dog day, and we got hot lunch. And that was like a special treat. And my mom, being a single mom raising 3 kids, she was working 2 and 3 jobs. She was on the school board, but she was just struggling to make ends meet. We had 50-pound bags of the powdered milk. Does anyone remember these things? You add water, voila, you got a gallon of milk. Fast forward to modern days, and I've raised my 3 kids the same way. 4 days a week, we do packed lunch. Now they have the fancy designer things. I had the metal case that rusted. But 1 day they get to pick what day they come for hot lunch. We have a wonderful program that you guys have gotten behind, the CEP, and it's a great thing for our community, not having to pay for breakfasts or lunch. If you do the quick math, the elementary schools, if you do breakfast and lunch, it's about $5 a day. The families are saving. Middle school is about $6 a day, and the high school is about $7 a day, I believe, or 4, 5, and 6. Anyway, per kid, it's about $1,000 a year that we are saving these families. You got 3 kids, that's $3,000 in a year that we're putting back in their pocket that they can use to maybe get better protein for dinner, maybe buy that pair of shoes that their kids don't have. I'm going to challenge you guys to kind of do some spitwadding and brainstorming. As a parent that, I have my own challenges, but I can pay the $5 a day for my kids. I was raised to not hardly ever accept free handouts. I'm not the only one that feels this way. I think if you were to ask parents in the district, there'd be a lot of them that say, you know what, if I'm saving $1,000 per kid per year, if we challenge them to reinvest, that's say $500. Just take half of what you're saving and reinvest it back into helping make our district the best it can be, whether it be sports fees. Right? There's a lot of kids that can't do sports, and I know there's resources available. There's a lot of kids that don't do sports because their parents cannot afford the $200 plus the $200. Yes, the third one's free, but if you do 3 sports a year, that's $400 plus all the ancillary, the shoes, the socks, the cups, all those things. If we challenge them to reinvest that back into some project that you guys would identify, it could be the turf club, right? Helping boosters. We run it through the education foundation, maybe. I'm spitwadding here. Maybe it's the Malala A team. Maybe it's the boosters. But we partner, the district partners with an outside entity in our community to help get these parents to reinvest back into the community. It would be branding. It would be messaging. I talked to Henry earlier today. That's my 3 minutes. Is that what that means? But anyway, there's messaging that the district can do to let parents know, here's how much we're putting back in your pocket. We want you to give some of that back, not to you, to somebody else to invest into one of our programs. My 3 minutes is up. Any questions? Any comments?
No, I think it's a good idea.
I love the program. It's phenomenal. It really is. And for families that are food challenged, it's a great asset. It's a great resource to have access to. But there's a lot of families that would say, you know what, I don't want that free. And I can't opt out. I called everybody. Can I check a box? Can I not take this? No, you can't. You got to take the free lunch. So what do my kids do now? And my daughter Sierra, you guys all know Sierra, tomorrow is my day with her. I go down every Friday, we do hot lunch. I have lunch with her and all her girlfriends. And that's been a tradition we've had since she was in kindergarten. So I would like to be able to check a box. I know I can. So let's come up with a creative idea. Let's take that $1,000 a year that they're saving and let's ask them to give some of it back to us in some creative way. Right? So that's all. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have any changes to the agenda? And then Madison's not here. Next up is consent agenda, which includes our August meeting minutes and personnel report. I did notice one simple error on the work session for August 22nd. It just says board members attending virtually and we were here in person. So it was just a tiny little mishap. Does anybody have any other comments about the consent agenda? Yes.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Moved and seconded.
Madam Chair. If I can, sorry, jumping in. How many candidates do we have for our director position currently? We have some.
The technology.
Technology director. Thank you. 13.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's all I have.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, so next up we have policy second readings.
Now,
Yes.
I move to adopt the policies on second reading as described.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding the policies? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have a request for a bond oversight committee. Did you want to speak to that, Tony, or do you want me to?
Just give a brief context. We, Chair McNeil and directors, we made it clear to the community as we were putting the bond forward that a citizens oversight element was critical for transparency and ongoing community confidence. We advertised that committee poised to be formed, capped it at 20, and lo and behold, we got on the nose 20 interested citizens, and I think it's terrific that many people are interested. I'm proposing here the committee be convened as a superintendent's committee, and the charge or the charter to that committee is in your material. I'll project it for those who might be watching at home, although I think it is on the public side of board book as well. What I really like about it is, again, it's about transparency. It's about keeping our promise to expend the bond funds as they were designed to be spent in the bond language itself, and providing regular reports to the community through the board. So be glad to answer any questions, but my recommendation this evening is that I'm seeking your approval, or not your approval, I'm seeking your direction that I be asked to go ahead and convene the committee as it's been described.
Chair, I may, I was just curious, it is under action item, so are you asking us to vote on this?
To vote to provide direction to me officially to make this committee part of the.
So
way we
let
do it.
me, if I may, propose a motion, and if you think
Yeah.
it doesn't work, let me know. Madam Chair, I move that we direct the superintendent to convene the bond oversight committee as a committee of the superintendent. Does that language work?
Perfect.
I will second.
Moved and seconded. Does anybody else have any?
I have a question. Or what, other than being a community member, what qualifications are we looking at for these people? And are we making this decision on all of them with this vote, or is it just to? I'm unclear of what the motion entails.
Yeah, thank you for the question and the clarification. Again, these are not what I'm presenting here are not appointments made by the board to a committee, but rather a charter that this committee gathered under my authority to achieve the goals that are spelled out in that charter. I know I'm kind of mincing words there a little bit, but to be clear, what I'm asking for is direction to convene a superintendent's committee to seek this group of citizens' feedback and oversight as we go through the bond expenditures over the next 3 years.
Okay, so then you would be picking these committee members then?
The
That's what you're
20
saying.
committee members that applied, my recommendation, not my recommendation, because again, it's not a board appointment, but the 20 individuals who applied, we're moving forward to have all of them on the committee. We're not turning anyone away.
Okay, so then could there be more than 20 committee members?
We advertised it as 20,
20, okay.
and so we're going to keep to that commitment. I think if board members wish to, observe those committee members or those committee meetings are certainly welcome.
So we're welcome to come and take a look?
Yep, yep.
Mr. Mayor, are these meetings going to be advertised publicly?
This is not a public meeting per se as a committee of the board.
So then I would just add to that as long as you don't, board members certainly could attend as long as they don't create a quorum, right?
Yep.
Then you have to advertise.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the only caution I would.
So we can communicate internally just to make sure that not too many of us are doing. Do we have any? Oh, go ahead.
I should say my other question. The members of this committee would be just oversight, not making decisions. Would that be correct?
Just to really kind of highlight it, it's these first 3 bullets that are on the screen there that really are the core purpose of the committee. 1, to review the plan and expenditures of bond funds. 2, to ensure that all bond funds are used for the purposes approved by the voters in the bond measure itself. And 3, to provide information to the community about the bond program implementation, meeting with the board on a term yet to be determined by that committee. It could be quarterly, it could be twice a year, reported to the board, the committee's assessment of the work of the district, continuing to spend the dollars in alignment with the bond language. There's also very clear, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, they're gonna be reporting back to, you guys are gonna be reporting back to us. Regular updates.
I'll bring that advisory group in to present a report out of my office to the board.
Just to be clear, they're not making decisions, they're just overseeing the decisions that are being made and reporting back to the community then?
Yep, basically, in basic terms, I really would like to have these community members be able to look their friends and neighbors in the eyes at church and in Safeway and say, gosh, that school district is doing exactly what they
okay.
promised to do.
Okay, that's what I was asking. They're not making the decisions.
Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to be clear on.
Thanks for pressing me on that, Director Cummings. I appreciate it.
Under the referral part, under common committee duties and responsibilities, there's one of the responsibilities will be to refer matters that something doesn't look quite right to them. And it says either the superintendent or the board. What would you expect protocol to be there?
Yeah.
Go to you first and then elevate it to us?
Yeah, I think it's that last bullet here that's on your screen now. It says, commitment, the duties or the responsibility of these committee members will be to refer matters related to any perceived allegation of wrongdoing or potential waste, fraud, misuse or abuse or non-compliance with the law, to report that according to board policy, right? So that would come to me if it's something that they've observed that I may not be aware of, and they're bringing that concern to my attention under the same board policy that any committee or community concern would be under KL, under KL, right? If their concern are with work done directly by my office or by me, they would skip past your superintendent and go directly to the board with their concerns.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, initially when I was reading it, it said the authority
the Board of Education goals are to improve. And when I looked at Board of Education, I thought it was this other entity that was located in Salem, but it is us. So that makes a huge difference. You know, the Board of Education in Salem, as they're unelected, they're not part of local control, and we are local control. Just to let you know, this thing of Board of Education, it's us, not the Board of Education in Salem. Okay.
And I think to make that really clear for the committee members, when we convene in October, I think I'll just amend that to have it read
Yeah.
Malala River School District Board of Directors.
Right, I
That way it's
prefer
really
that.
clear.
Yeah.
Change.
Yeah.
Yes, that's clear. Thank you.
You bet.
Do we have any, I know there's at least a couple committee members in the audience. Will you raise your hand if you're on the board? Or I'm sorry, on the committee. I got 2 people. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a motion.
Also,
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so all in favor of directing Mr. Mann to convene the oversight committee for the bond? Raise your right hand. Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Chair. Next up, we have the capital projects update and OTAC team introduction by Dr. Stewart. Hey.
Last meeting, we met Bob Collins from OTAC, our project manager firm. And tonight I'd like to invite Mickey and Sean to the table to introduce themselves and their role in our project.
Good evening. Thanks for coming.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mickey Bragg. I'm project manager. I'll be leading our effort on this project with our OTAC team.
I'm Sean Soldier, also the OTAC, senior project manager, helping Mickey and Ron and Bob on the project.
We're very excited to be here, so thank you for having us. It's going to be an exciting project.
Have you guys worked on similar projects in the past?
We have both worked on very large school bond projects. I am still working on the Salem Kaiser school bond project right now, and Sean has a couple as well.
I'm still working on the North Clackamas School District Bond Program part-time. So I'm working on the Mount Angel School District Bond Program, North Clackamas, and now Malala. I'm very glad to be in this community. I actually grew up in Canby, went to Canby High School, and have a lot of friends in Malala.
We both did, actually.
Yeah. We also both went to Oregon State.
Yeah.
And got degrees in construction engineering management, which brings us here.
Yep. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Questions?
I feel like we haven't done enough to like make it worth your while to be here. No, I've got no questions though.
Jump in, inviting them to be here tonight to put a name with the face. Again, OTAC was selected through a public procurement process. A couple members of the board participated in that process and just really clear confidence at that screening process that OTAC was the right firm to come in and do this work for us. And I've been really pleased. We convene every Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock for a couple, 3 hours. And I have been, they're moving so quickly. There's a game plan and we play to win. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight to say hi and yeah.
I just to make it worth your time to be here. I assume that one of the things you produce is like a RAID log or a risk and issue type log, or that it's kind of the standard template that you follow as project managers. Is that true? So you have and is that something that you publish to the school board, to the superintendent? How is that managed or governed?
Well, we can do an assortment of punishment. What do we recommend? We do like to provide updates as requested. We can provide schedule cost updates as much degree of information as you would prefer, or we can produce.
Before
I actually have
it's a risk and issue. It's like a risk register. What's keeping us up at night? There's always a handful of things, and that's something I might have in a heartbeat on.
So we keep a log called a risk management log, and we use a system called Smartsheet, and put risk and concerns in there. We work it into we have a project management plan and a project charter. And that's what Dr. Mann and Dr. Stewart were talking about. We meet weekly and do a lot of pre-planning. So we're actually, I spend most of my time up front doing all the planning, just to make sure that we get those risks identified and have the things in place so that we don't have issues on project. And knock on wood, it's been going good so far.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much.
We are very fortunate to have this team involved in our project. It's a very experienced team, and Mickey's actually a senior project manager. We've brought in as a project manager, so we're very fortunate. But Alec from Opsis, our architectural firm that also went through the successful proposal process, introduced himself in his role on the project.
A little closer. Hi, Alec Holzer, principal, founder of Opsis Architecture in Portland, and super excited to be here and follow through on that wonderful commitment that the community made to support this construction of a new middle school. Just a little bit, I've probably designed maybe 50 to 70 schools in my career. So I love this. Of all the projects I design, when you talk to the officers about working with kids, there's nothing better when we're all said and done here with this project and it opens, to see the kids come in and just their eyes go like, wow, this is an amazing thing. And I know just spending a fair amount of time in the last couple of weeks in the existing middle school, there's nowhere to go but up. So we've had, working with Randy and Tony and Ron, it's been great. This is when Ron mentioned fast, this is the fastest start we've ever had in my whole career. I think we were selected 3 weeks ago on a contract in 1 week, and we're already into our second week of meetings and moving very, very fast, which is great. So the community will be seeing, things soon as we start to develop our concepts and work through the project. So very, very fun project. Questions? Got to make my time worth it too,
What if we wanted to look just like the old school?
Yeah, the existing one. Which part?
The boiler room.
Here's a little funny story that I was a couple of weeks before we interviewed. I was at the Historical Society at the house there, and I went through the building was built for the old where the old pieces of the old high school that had to be demolished are. And I looked at it, and I was looking at this photograph. I said, wow, that school looks so familiar. And it turns out that the year that school was built was it Union? Was that the name of the original Union High School? It was built, I think, in 1927, maybe. And in 1926, almost the identical school was built by the same architect in Hood River. Was the Hood River High School, which I have worked on through 3 different bond programs doing renovations to. So it's still standing. If you want to see what the old Union High School did look like, it's very many pieces that are in the museum here. The light fixtures, some of the brackets that were in some of I think the auditorium are almost identical to those in Hood River. So kind of an interesting thing that I was like, wow, that's cool. So history is there.
You're sitting in the earth sciences room right now of that old school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
So
what this was.
yeah, the Strobel's room.
yeah. So look forward to working and hopefully presenting to you all as the project moves ahead. Anything else?
Yours is the best interview I've ever seen.
Well, thank
The
you.
Best group. You were outstanding.
Thank you.
Hands down.
Thank you. We had a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun, and I've got a great team. I'm just representing our team. We've got 5 different architects from our office, as well as a group of consultants that are going to be working on the project, and they're thoroughly engaged already working. And we spent an afternoon with Randy walking through the school, understanding all the spaces and how they're being used now, and then lot of new thinking, working with Tony on what's the future of education learning environments. A lot of technology, a lot of things changing, and we want this to be the very best it can be within the budget and on time. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, next up we have district improvement scorecard update. Mr. Mann?
Director McNeil and directors. Just wanted to keep in front of all of us work that began with the revision of our mission and vision and the declaration of our pillars, which are board adopted. The work for this school year began with all of the administrators taking the scorecard goals in each of the pillar areas that were presented back in July at your work session at the district level, and working through a design process with their teams at their schools to ensure that their goals and their actions are directly aligned with the district's goals and actions, right? And that's really a principle that has been part of the work we've done with Studer to date, that there's alignment, throughout the organization. And I want to just, as a point of reference here, if I've got it. Yep. Forgive me. Share and kind of remind ourselves here that there's a timeline for reporting our goals that includes reports all the way up to the governing board and reports at the superintendent level with the administrative team, and work that's aligned with the schools that is on 45-day increments. You see here is the sort of the structure that our consultant at Studer, Brent Brummett, presented to the board back in July. And that really sort of represented that moment in time in August, September, where we had the goal setting that took place. The goals, which I won't go over in great detail here tonight, which Brent walked through and reminded us that we've got goals in each of the pillar areas. For example, in the student goals specifically, we've got a measurable goal that says the school culture survey will improve to 3.68 from a baseline score of 3.48. That's just the numerical part. All of the work that goes into that to improve students' perception of their experience as students in our schools is work that's happening on the ground level by principals and their teams. And that's what we're going to be working on throughout the year. They'll be reporting at district level meetings their work. And when we get to the point where we've administered this survey, those data are going to come back to the board in a public meeting at the highest level, right? At the highest level. Now, that doesn't mean that the schools won't be collecting data that's really aligned to it. Initial, maybe leading edge survey data, asking students, questions in mini engagement to get some feedback along the way so that you can make adjustments, right? It's rather than wait until the end of the year to assess are you headed the right direction. We're monitoring along those same lines throughout the year. So goals in students, goals in facilities, goals in communication, and goals in partnerships. And again, just back to the timeline. In November, December, the leadership team, meaning myself, district office directors, principals, will be reviewing the progress to date in November that took place in those early weeks, first 12 weeks of the school year, the work that was done and any measurable indicators of our progress in those same areas. And again, I gave you the one example of a student survey data point. There are other data points, for example, in human resources. We want to improve the employee experience in our school district. And one way we're going to be measuring that is Director Ellis has been conducting exit interviews with employees that left the organization, as well as stay interviews with employees to ask them about their rationale for choosing to remain in our district so that we can use those data to continue to improve the employee experience. So she's been working on those surveys here this fall. We'll probably be bringing that report card data to the board sooner than the end of the year, right? Because the data collection took place earlier. But by that time we get to the end of the year, we should have reported on all of the scorecards and their progress to date. Does that make sense? And do you have any questions? I'd be glad to answer any.
Thank you. So if I'm reading that, we'll have board report outs August or September, in January, February, and then June. Help me understand what's going to be in the board reports so I can understand. You probably will have scorecard data. Will there be retrospective information? This is stuff that went well. This is stuff that didn't go well. These were adjusting. To me, that would be really valuable to see once every, is it every 3 months to the board?
Yeah, once every 3 months, if I go back to that timeline. Yeah, so January, February window of time, and then end of year window of time. So the question I'm hearing is, what will we be sharing with the board in that retrospective? One of an example of that is our retrospective on the 23-24 school year, because we made an initial sort of run at using these strategies to measure our progress. And at the end of the year last year, we effectively assessed ourselves as making progress, but not finished with the goal in 5 of those areas at the time: students, staff, facilities, resources, and partners. One of the goal areas was at or above. That was complete, and that was the passage of the bond and communication associated with that. So each of the, and again, I know we can't read them on the screen here, but each of the goal areas for students, staff, facilities, resources, and partners inform the goal setting as we started this school year. As Studer reminds us, right, if you're not making progress, is it because you haven't initiated any work? If you haven't initiated any work, that's a reminder, right? You got to keep on track with your work plan. Or maybe you're making a decision at that point with data that you set a goal and you haven't made progress because you're going to abandon that strategy. You had other data come your way saying that strategy wasn't going to get you to the pillar outcome. So again, rather than continue to do the same thing that isn't working throughout the course of the year, abandon a strategy and adjust, if that makes sense. So
those are the insights I'm looking for.
Okay.
What insights do we have as a result of this? What are the insights, and how are we going to, in the next agile sprint, do things different?
How did practices change as a result?
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for, the insights.
Perfect.
And when I did ask Brent when he was presenting, I said, if you're finding that it's not working, there's already set up contingency plans in place in ACDS. So I don't know that it's documented everywhere, but I said that they do have.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, because it doesn't mean we would stop addressing that pillar priority area, but the strategy and the measure might be, when I say abandon, just to say it's not getting us further down the road. So we've moved to contingency plan, B. What's our different approach on this?
Anybody else have questions, comments?
Thanks for letting us sort of keep it front and center.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm really excited for it. So thank you for doing this.
Okay, next up we have Mrs. Watson with facilities and, communication report.
Good evening, Chair McNeil and directors. It's my pleasure to join you virtually tonight. I've completed 8 months of service to the district, so we're starting month 9. I noted in my written report to you that we are going to make a change in the format. We're going to drop off the prior activities that we started with last January and pick it up with this school year, a similar format, but drop out the previous activities. So you're not going to receive those past activities. We're going to start fresh with this school year. And we are still making a lot of progress and doing a lot of work around bond communications. So we're keeping our website information as fresh as we can. We also did a newsletter for the Bond Oversight Committee applicants. Many of them did apply really early in the process. And we want to make sure that they were getting updates. So we introduced the firms the way you've met them over the last few meetings, and let them know to hold that October date. So we'll be working on that process, getting underway with Dr. Mann, of course, leading it, but we'll be doing some staff work to make sure that the oversight committee has agendas and support, with the first meeting being October 8th. And then transitioning to the new school year, we're going to get back into the cadence of regular email newsletters. And those will go to the staff at least once a month and to parents and community at least once a month. We did find during certain times of the year, those would be every other week. So far this school year, we've issued one of those around athletics, and we're working on the first edition that would be more general in nature for parents. And then we'll do our staff one as well, but we're just kind of wanting to make sure they have a good start to the year. And then we're not really pushing out a lot of really new information while people are getting their routines underway, and kind of hit the full point. It's not a good time to dump new information in. On the branding work, we've ordered a sign for the boardroom that will replace the one that you all face. And then we're also looking at having something that would be appearing in the broadcast of the meeting. So maybe that might be behind you or just on the screen notations, but somehow we'll get the new logo on that. We're also going to work on having apparel items available with the new logo, as well as a website. The color and format change of our main district website will incorporate the new brand colors. And then we'll also start working on the print material. So we issued a certificate today for Officer Kassab that has the new logo on it. We'll start changing out our letterheads, our envelopes, those type of things that are printed. But we will use up the ones we have. This is not something that we feel like is something we want to, turn out stuff that's still usable. We'll just use up the old stuff and rotate the new in. And then we also are continuing the work on the new websites. And we have had some delays in those projects and some errors. Want to make sure that you as our policymakers understand we're working through those issues. Had a lot of help from IT, but also just making sure that that we're really focused on getting those school sites with that information. That was our priority. Now we're going to go back and clean up the documents. When the company got the contract, they moved everything over from our old websites. Much of that is 10 or more years old, and it's just sitting there in a folder, and we want to get that organized so people can find the current stuff and maybe drop out the old stuff. And then part of our websites also had the notification systems in it. So you can get an email or text or phone call from the school. And we had 2 errors with the attendance. The first day on Tuesday, we did not do those automatic notifications. And then on Wednesday morning, we sent every parent a notice saying we were going to resume those. We hoped by doing that, in case there were any errors, they would understand the system was new. We did have 2 errors. One originated at Rural Dell Elementary. And when I set those calls up, I picked the wrong data file that it was married. The attendance report was married to, and every parent at the school got called instead of just the parents who had absent children. And also that same day at the high school, there was a vendor error on the processing side, and it made 6 phone calls or 6 emails if the student missed all 6 periods, instead of condensing that into one call that said exactly which period the student was absent from. So we paused at the high school. The high school scaling is quite a bit bigger, and we couldn't see the vendor's processing error. And so we want to make sure that they fixed it and that they confirmed it was fixed. We restarted those calls today, and those were successful. So we now have all 6 schools back on an automated system, and we've apologized where we've needed to, but we want to make sure those kind of issues may roll over to you. We want to make sure that Emily and Sally, the 2 attendance staff at those schools, were not responsible for the errors. The messages come under their name. And so we got those corrected, and continue to try to notify parents ahead of time when we're making a system change like that, because it is quite a lot of data, comes over in 3 different chunks, and then that data gets processed to originate those automatic calls. And even when we can see they're not going right, they go so fast, we can't stop it. Like, we can see that it started, but you can't get the error and stop it quickly enough to prevent what happened at the high school. So anyway, we worked through it and I just that, that kind of concludes what I have to share with you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions and I'll be there in person whenever I can. But now that the bond is over, I am staffed there part-time and I'll call in on the times I can't be there in person.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Anybody have anything else for her?
I just have one quick question. Well, I'm not even sure if it's a question. I don't know how often the website gets updated, especially the main page. And I don't know who's responsible for doing it, but I just happened to go there tonight during the meeting to kind of check and see if the new logo had been implemented yet. I understand why it hasn't been. That's perfectly fine. But I had some difficulty seeing what's below the bottom of the screen. And it's because there's a warning at the top for an excessive heat warning. I was just wondering when that was going to drop off.
Okay, I'll take a look. Yes, we had an excessive heat warning. I believe it was last week. So yeah, with all the stuff with the attendance and the other little blips we had last week, I failed to get that off of there. So I'll get that one off of there.
Yeah,
and
it was
thanks
hot
for
this
that.
last weekend. That's okay.
Yeah, it was. But that was like Thursday, Friday, I believe. So we're almost a week past now. Yeah, so we are trying to keep that up, and it is. The nice thing is we're about to do handover. I mentioned that in my report. So Gary and I have kind of been holding on to that pretty tight because we feel like we need to know how it works before we try to train other people. And we don't want the anxiety to be as high as it can be. We'd like to meter that out. And it just really is so fundamentally different than the site we had before. Like we have found we just have to like completely forget everything we knew and start over like completely fresh. And so we wanted to give those schools a chance to get school started before we tried to dump in a complete, and we did do 3 schools. I think half of them got early adopter training last spring. And it's so fundamentally different. Like it's not a criticism unless you get a few repetitions in. It's really hard to find where it is. It's hard to repeat what you just did 5 minutes ago if it's the second time you've done it. And so we feel we have enough reps in now that we can train them. So we'll start training other departments, other schools, other school staff to be able to help us keep up on the content.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yep.
Thank you. We know that's a lot of work. We appreciate you.
I don't have a
Thank
question. If you have a comment, I was just gonna say, Andrea, it's nice to see the logo in our paperwork tonight.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I was looking through, I'm like, saw that and I'm like, oh, wow, that looks really good. So.
Yeah, the colors popped on that certificate too. Okay.
Well, thank you. And we've engaged the company right away, but the template part that they build out for us, putting it on the website is on the Apogee side. And of course, their client base is all schools. And so they are in a very busy period for them. And I asked them, don't just change it out. We would like to see the draft of the design before you do so that we can make any modifications if we're not completely happy with what they're proposing the change look like. But we're putting it in production, the logo, and it is going well. We've caught a couple little things that need to be modified and we're getting that cleaned up.
Great. Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, next up we have Mr. Tiano with the facilities and deferred maintenance report.
Madam Chair, members of the board. Yeah, I just want to start off by saying we had a very productive and very busy summer. Went ahead and put this facility report together and attached quite a few photos. I know how much we love photos. Just to actually kind of just go through a few. I don't know if we could put some of the photos up on the screen for some of the folks that could actually see.
I'll just comment really quick.
Yes.
I did talk to a staff member at Milano and she was very happy with the floors, the new floors. She said it's.
Yeah, just to brief you on that, that carpet has been there for quite a few years. Was definitely needed to be replaced. It's been on the wish list for a couple of years, and yeah, it was some funding that we got right off the bat. literally, I think it was the day school got out, we took all the furniture, all the Xerox machine, actually emptied everything, and there it is right there. So that was something I'd hired out with Rubenstein's, it's carpet agency. They actually had to strip all the glue off the floor, and it's quite extensive work there. And then this is the new LVT flooring that's in the main office now that goes through Kathy's office, health room, and the main office.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Also, again, the front entrance of the high school, we've actually replaced a whole bunch of siding needed to be replaced. As you can see, the second photo, Lance and I winded up doing all the painting. Saved us about $3,100 on painting. It took us a couple days to get it done. We still have a little bit more to do by the auditorium that's really covered, doesn't need to be replaced, but just needs to be painted. So yeah, that was a big accomplishment. Also, I would like to share. I think we had mentioned Rural Dell, getting some lights in the courtyard there. We got those replaced. So yeah, it's really brightens up that courtyard. Also, the well pump wiring, as you can see, that was an unexpected project that we were losing voltage from the well house to the school. So there was just a direct wire that was buried years ago that was starting to get corroded. We were losing our voltage, basically just tripping out our breaker for our pump. So that went very smooth. Again, that was about a $7,000 cost plus $2,000 for the wiring. So roughly about $10,000. Clark's, we replaced some toilet partitions. Some, again, that were old. There were some were a little too high off the ground. So as you walk through the hallway, there's some visibility access that we weren't too happy about. So we wound up getting brand new partitions. And I winded up getting bids for all the toilet partitions at Clark's and Rural Dell to be replaced. And they will be replaced as the funding comes available. Again, district-wide parking lot striping. We hit every school, the high school. We didn't do the upper area because we did that last year, but in front of the auditorium. Malino MES looks beautiful. In front of the district office looks great. So it really makes our buildings pop for the first day of school. Yeah, and I think the last one is just seeing us working on the good old fashioned boilers at the middle school. Yes.
When this new building is successful, what are you going to do with the old boiler? Have you seen the movie Office Space?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I kind of have a vision of taking the doors off and somehow maybe incorporating that somehow in the new school. But as far as the actual boilers themselves, yeah, I think they're just going to get recycled and melted down to make battleships or something. But yeah, just very, very productive summer. I want to really give a shout out to Lance. I don't know what I'd do without him, my two grounds crew guys. I don't know what I'd do without them either. So I'm really appreciative of the team we have. And again, I'd like to say thanks and the appreciation that the administrators have for us and seeing some of the stuff get accomplished. So.
Thank you.
Tony, oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to add one briefly. One of the things that Tony and I've been working on is doing as we've done routinely, having these monthly retrospectives with some photos on projects completed, while with a quarterly review of a report that I think I shared with the board a couple months back, where it's looking forward instead of backwards, looking forward in a 5-year increments with prioritized expenditures from roofing to siding to this and that, so that you can see what Mr. Tiano's plans are in the next 12 months and then the following 12 months and what the associated costs are projected to be. So when we're developing budgets, there's an opportunity for the board and the public to see that's all been mapped out with intention and strategy over time. I appreciate Tony working on that. So Director Lockridge, I apologize. I want to add that
that's
piece. So
fine.
quarterly we'll come back with that.
I just had kind of a random question. And it's totally fair if you don't know the answer to this question, but it caught my eye, pumping the septic tank at Clark's Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
How big is the septic tank? What is the gallon capacity of something like that at a school?
I know Rural Dell is 3,000 gallons. I'm going to say Clark's is close to 3,000. Yeah, we have actually 3 separate tanks, so I'd have to probably see what the combined total is on that.
Just
It's,
curious.
it's actually funny. We, in front of Clark's where the, between the main building and the gym, we had a few years ago, we had a boiler line that was leaking. So after having it detected, we had to trench and dig. We found a septic tank that had been paved over.
Oh, no.
And it was made by volunteers back in the day, and it's a man-made 6-inch concrete septic tank that is still functioning. But we actually had to take a roto hammer and chip the corner of the concrete in order to get the pump to get in there to actually pump the tank. It's the 3rd tank I've seen in this district that has been covered by either asphalt or concrete. So
Wow.
no records, no as-bills. So
Of course not.
yeah. Yeah.
Do we have plumbing?
Yes. Yep.
So did you have to put access into it now or
Yep.
permanent access?
Yep. Well, we're gonna dig it up. We have it marked, so when it happens again, we just have to actually just take some gravel out. I like to pump them every year. A lot of times they don't need them every year, but me being the way I am, I want my lift stations cleaned every summer at the high school and MES. I just want it pumped. I want it cleaned and pumped every summer. So that's something that American On says, oh, you're not really ready for another year. It's like, and life safety things, it's just an ongoing maintenance thing that we do every summer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do outstanding work as usual.
Okay, next up we have Mr. Campbell with our financial review.
Good evening. I don't bring pictures with me tonight.
Oh.
I can promise you that my pictures would not be as colorful as Tony's. Just a couple updates for you tonight. The final field work visit from our auditors wrapped up last week. They are now busy building our audit report, hoping to have that done by the end of October, early November. But we are on their schedule, so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we keep them on track. The big update is just about the bonds closing on September 5th. The sale went very well. The closing was uneventful. The money transfer was uneventful. The transfers out to our investment bank and LGIP went well, so the money is in the right place. We have the proper liquidity to get the project started. Our investment strategy lines up with the arbitrage yield requirement that came out of the sale of the bonds. So the maturities for the U.S. securities kind of mature in line with the project as it goes along. So basically kind of every month we have a maturity. If we don't need that, then we'll reinvest it to earn more interest. And you have my financial report if anybody has any questions.
Made $7 million off the sale of those bonds, plus the $6 million on Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so how much more are we gonna make with the bonds?
An additional $5 million. Yeah.
So what are we gonna be spending that on?
Only the middle school.
Okay, only on the middle school,
Only
so
on
we're
the
gonna be paying that down, so it's gonna be paid off faster, right?
That I don't make that decision.
About this today.
Okay.
You know, at the end of the day, that commitment to be on time and on budget
Yes.
is there. And so what we don't want to do is get to the end of a project and not have sufficient contingency, for example. So we're holding and making any decisions until we get far enough down the road. There will be no decisions made that won't have the board fully informed and, you know, public transparency. But we have the gift of being able to have a little bit of breathing room at this moment because of the financial stewardship that the board has provided oversight on over time, right? So that bond rating of A+ resulted in those premiums being what they were. And then the Awesome grant was unexpected revenue. So, but it is required that it all be focused on the middle school project.
So this will be our contingency fund that we're gonna keep towards the end in the year 2027. Then we're gonna look at the total outcome of extra money.
this is a space where your superintendent does not have enough experience building schools. Like, this is the first one. So in any given month, we hear Andy talking about liquidity and spending and how many dollars we need to have to make sure we're staying on track and on budget. We're just going to be really conservative and hold in making any decisions on what we do with those dollars until we get to the end of the project time. Did I answer your question? Yeah, it's really, we got an opportunity to be conservatively, careful in what we're doing.
Any other questions?
If I'm reading this right, it looks like our ending fund balance is easily within our 8% policy. And if I'm also reading this right, our actual versus budget we did a really good job last year being pretty darn close, spending more here, but proportionally less in a different area.
Yeah, the spending was pretty good. There were a couple of areas that were overspent, a couple of areas that were underspent. But yeah, the ending fund balance is looking somewhere between 15 and 16%.
Okay.
That's pretty close to what the auditors will end up with. I would say give or take 50,000 after adjusting entries.
Okay. Thank you.
Since we've had a lot of people move in, how many more students do we have than we were expecting?
I don't think we have the official numbers yet.
Okay.
I think after the 10-day drop, we'll have a good idea.
Okay.
That was kind of the message that we got from the OASBO group I met with today. We're all kind of in a holding pattern. Some districts are way down, some districts are way up. And so we'll know more as we get more information.
Just the routine procedure as we start a school year is we're monitoring enrollment and class size really at the school level on a daily basis. Our principals are monitoring class size, and I received my first report from our elementary principals on class sizes, for example, K-5 here this late last week, early this week. And I'm happy to report that they're within reasonable ranges and aligned with the budget that was used to build our staffing plan for this year. So if you look at class size currently at our elementary schools, they largely range from 23, 24 to 28, 29 per teacher. And so talking with the principals about, in those larger classes, if you got 28, 29, what kind of instructional assistant support do those teachers have? And then in those smaller size classrooms, again, we're not as staffed as we were during the pandemic. We were intentional about dropping class size down during the pandemic to 22, 23. But we're in the range of 24 to 28, 29. And we can bring specific class sizes for you to look at the next meeting as well. At the secondary level, it's a little bit different because kids are, going to the counselor, going to change a class, going to do it. So we let that sort of shake out a little bit longer. And as Mr. Campbell said, there's a magic 10-day mark in state law when it relates to collecting ADM and counting for students' attendance. We get to that 10-day drop mark, things start to settle out, then we'll have some confidence reporting both enrollment and class size.
Thank you. Next up, teaching and learning. Yes, Mrs. Jackson.
Thank you, Chair McNeil and directors. So I start off by saying we are off and running, students and staff, finishing up their second week of school. And just want to also let you know that a couple of weeks ago during our in-service, our staff and teachers prior to that participated in an assessment cadre, which was it was mid-August. And so they came together for 4 days to create common assessments that match our unit maps. And during in-service, our secondary teachers really focused, they did a deeper dive on those assessments, and then also are going to be working on high impact strategies this year for their PD. And then all elementary staff participated in an interactive session that our 4 elementary principals created and really gave an overview of our literacy initiative and the science of reading. And then also an overview of those pieces of our early literacy grant. Also in my report this evening is the annual Oregon English Language Report. So every year, ODE prepares a report of our English language learners in the entire state of Oregon. And so this gives a great time to pause and kind of look at what we're doing in our specific district. And we continue to implement the ELL curriculum that was adopted a year and a half ago. We also are continuing the after-school migrant program, excuse me, and our summer school programs, which I commented on a few months ago. And then also giving staff, our ELL teachers, opportunities to continue learning some effective strategies to use in their classrooms, as well as core teachers as well. And lastly, next month, our 6th grade students from the middle school will embark on a very exciting academic journey, participating in the OMSI Outdoor Science School. If you remember a few years ago, our 5th graders were attending this, but now we have 6th grade, and I have brought Principal Randy Dalton to talk a little bit about this exciting endeavor that our 6th graders are going to embark on.
Yes, great. Good evening. First, I have to, if I can just take a second to compliment somebody, and that's Tony Tiano and his crew. I'm just really amazed, Tony. Oh, he's gone. He's probably, the guy's working right now. He's probably at the middle school with his finger in the leak. Just an incredible, I don't know how they do it. Just really positive. You could tell this passion that he's in it all for the right reasons for the kids. Craig, I'm gonna ask him to get him some pictures of those septic tanks for you. No, you were great interest in that. And also, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and this is the best start, the best year I've ever experienced. We have an outstanding staff at our middle school that's just killing it. Just the positivity and this team attitude. The kids are right there with us for the most part. It's been wonderful, and I've never had so much fun. And so we are committed to serving the students of this community and providing an outstanding experience. And I was really excited to hear about outdoor school coming to the middle school level. Many of you might not know, I used to teach science, so I have a sweet spot for that. And there's just so much it can offer. So I was tasked with finding a spot. I worked with our staff to what are their needs, and we're hoping for a fall experience, something at the coast, kind of a little different experience than in the foothills or the mountains. And they wanted, you know, the kids to go all at once, and they wanted it accessible to everybody. So searched high and low for it, and I was lucky enough to find an outstanding program put on through OMSI. And if you want to just, OMSI is, as you know, it's an exceptional organization that is a master of sciences, and they have a, you're going a little too fast. Is that my cue to speed up? Anyways, and that concludes my questions. Anyhow, thanks for your help, Lori. We are going to Newport, Oregon, just over the bridge, over the bay there. If you're headed towards Walport, it's right on the right. I didn't know it was there. I go to Newport all the time to fish, and it's just back there off the road by South Beach. And so it's going to be great. And we are headed to, like I said, Camp Gray. And they opened in 2016. And there are cabins there, teacher quarters to sleep in. They can have just about 96 total people there. And we have about 200 sixth graders. So we have to go in different sessions, which is fine. That's all right. So, well, don't spoil it here.
Okay.
Go ahead, keep going.
I'm spoiling it. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right, there it is. There we are. We are headed in October to the great city of Newport. We have to do it in 4 sessions, and we're going to go 2 advisory classes at a time. So I have about 25 kids in one advisory and 25 kids in another. So the teacher and their students are all going to be headed out that time. So great bonding experience for the kids and their teacher. So we've divided them up into 4 groups there. We're going to have, like I said, the advisory teachers go. I'm going to go a couple of times, and Mrs. Tatum, the AP, is going to go. So we're going to have a lot of supervision. We're going to have somebody kind of on the medication. Really important that everybody feels like they can go and access it. Try to bring an instructional assistant with us to help kids in the activities. And Linda, high school counselors, high school students, which will be a fantastic experience for juniors and seniors. So I've been working. Dr. Atherton's loving the idea too. So great partnership there. I'm going to go over there and try to hustle some volunteers up, and I'm sure it'll be very popular. Give them great experience, and we're really looking forward to that. So those camp counselors they're sleeping in the bunk rooms, and I'll show you here in a second. And they're kind of helping with the students and this and that. And our teachers, they're kind of guides on the sides. Amzi's going to do the teaching of the components, which is nice. So yeah, it's going to be great. And then the high schoolers are going to get all kinds of things: leadership development, community service, memories, in connection with nature, just kind of giving back to the community. So it's going to be a win-win.
Are they going to take lots of pictures and come back and show us all the fun
Yeah.
they had?
Well, that's funny you mentioned that. No cell phones are allowed, so unless they got the old camera.
An old fashioned.
We'll have a camera. Okay, so what's the day look like? There's a basic day. It's a 3-night, 2-day, all-inclusive trip. Right? They do the cooking. They got a program. We'll leave our school about 8:30 in the morning, depending on that traffic. And we got to get there by noon, basically. And then we'll have lunch. And then, there's some hike, it looks like, a snack. There's some interest groups they'll take part in, some rec time, dinner, the evening program, and of course, what's outdoor school with that? I go to a campfire, right? And so then the next day is a full day, and you can see it there. But the field study is kind of the major component, which I'll get into in just a second. And then the final day, that's when the tears flow, right? We'll leave there about 11:30, 12, and get back about 3, depending. So that's a 3 nights, 2 nights, 3 days. Yeah, there we go. All right, great. Okay, so the big unit of study you could choose, and our science teachers thought the wind, water, and climate, rather than kind of the ecology of the area, they thought this fits our curriculum with state standards better. So they're going to be going over the dunes, looking for how wind and water shape the land. They're going to learn about the water cycle and how it's created the different structures there. How the sand dunes formed and why they aren't blown away. What keeps them in place. And eventually, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a big sand castle or something. But they're going to be making Oregon, a 3D model of Oregon in the sand, and just kind of see how the weather and stuff affects the landscape. So that's kind of the big unit. And then they have some other things, the interest groups. They're going to learn about some coastal birds, the marine mammals. Oh, and this one's good. Skulls, skins, and bones, right? They're going to like that. And they get to dissect the squid, which we like because it's really stinky. We'd rather do it in somebody else's house, so they'll like that. And look at weather and climate. And at night, they got events, Eco Jeopardy, the night hike, predator prey, shark trivia, tide pool, slideshow. So a lot of stuff going on for the kids. It's going to be great. So here's a little overview. They've got a dining hall there. You can see the luxurious teacher cabin there. You got a bunk bed in there, and then you've got 8 bunks in one kind of unit. 7 students and 1 camp counselor would be in there with the teacher on the end, which I'll show you here in a second. They've got covered porches out there because it rains on occasion at the coast, so they got a way to teach the kids. And there's basically the cabins are kind of mirrors of each other. There's dormitory, 4 of them that are separated by, there's a sliding door, but they're separated. And then you got the teacher cabin, and the restrooms are in the middle, as you can see there, and then the same setup on the other side. Go ahead to the next slide. So yeah, to the left, that's kind of your basic cabin structure. And then in the middle of them are the restrooms and showers. There's boys' restroom and girls' restroom there. And that's the Ritz-Carlton Omsi style. So, go ahead. They're the first thing they do, they're really big on safety. So it's in a tsunami zone. So they take us up to this little hill. They got little supplies up there just in case something happens. So really trying to prepare everybody for what could happen someday, but probably not when we're there. So yeah, medications, we're gonna have somebody there, gonna make sure that everybody gets what they need. But we'll wanna really keep track of that. There's a lot of systems in place there, as well as the food. You know, they're cooking all the meals, so we have to be real sensitive to any kind of food allergies or any special diet, so we can account for that. So we'll make sure that we're talking with the families on if there's any special needs, what have you. Get that to the camp. They're just well aware of those different allergies, so they don't want anybody hurt. Safety is their top priority as well as ours. Okay, that's it. That's the trip. Who's going?
I have to say, it looks really cool. I lived there for 10 years and we did not have that. We got to go whale watching. That was the highlight of our outdoor schooling and stuff. Or we went up the LC River and went to a camp there, but that's way cooler than what we ever did. Way cooler.
Yeah.
Hopefully they dress for the weather.
Yeah,
Because
right.
it'll be nice in the morning.
Oh.
It'll be miserable in the afternoon.
Yeah,
And then might
thanks.
be really nice in the evening.
Well, thanks for mentioning that, Terry. MCC is a great partner of us, and I went to them to see if they would be interested in sponsoring our students to outdoor school, and they generously donated a sweatshirt, customized sweatshirt for all of our participants there.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, I think that's fantastic. So I plan on having a parent meeting next Tuesday. Kind of reveal I don't think many people know. I haven't really revealed it, though it may have leaked out. I'm gonna let the parents know and the kids know tomorrow where we're headed. But on Tuesday, I'm gonna have that parent meeting, open to any questions, super transparent. I want everybody to feel good about their experience. It's gonna be amazing.
Extra shoes.
What's that?
Extra shoes.
Extra shoot. Yes, they have. You know, Omsi's been doing this for a long time. They got all the documents.
Somebody will forget.
Yeah, somebody will. But at least we told them.
Yeah.
I love that our own high schoolers are gonna be the camp counselors.
Yeah.
Do you like that part?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. I like keeping it local that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the way it was when I was in high school. And when I went to outdoor school in sixth grade myself, it was the high schoolers that came and were camp counselors and, you know, slept in the cabins with us kids. And it was a lot of fun. And I have great memories of outdoor school. So I'm glad to see this is back, and I'm glad to see that we are bringing our own people to be there and to oversee the children. So we've got a little bit more say in what happens.
Exactly.
I want to know, since we'll officially be in school there, can we have board meetings there during?
I like
We're
that.
supposed to have our board meetings in the district. It seems that it should work.
Board retreat. I think we're due for one of those.
No. What do they call that?
Well, just so we
Gray
do,
area.
We're jealous.
Mrs. Tatum and I did take a trip there. It was a good excuse to get away to the coast. But it was official business. And just wanted to scout it out and get firsthand, see all the different facilities and how the sleeping arrangements and the restrooms and this and that, just to make sure we had a good, we could speak with some confidence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
For this, each student.
You say
or-
pay?
Yeah,
No,
are the
it's free.
student, it's free. Okay, good.
Wonderful. Yeah. Very
Nice work, sir.
Yes.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you. Okay, last up we have Dr. Shob. Is she here? Oh, there she is.
Just as funny.
Student services.
I can follow that. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors. You have my report. Maybe two things I'd like to highlight. One is staffing. So we're very close to being fully staffed. We are 99% staffed for our licensed staff who support our students with disabilities. We need one more learning specialist, but Randy and I think have a good plan for supporting our kids and filling that hole until we can find a permanent person. So it's really exciting to start that way. We have a very strong, I think, related services team with lots of our, OT, PT, speech in person. Not everyone's in person, but it's definitely increased. For all the people who are remote, one of our occupational therapists, a couple of our speech therapists, they have an in-person licensed assistant. So the students will be getting in-person services being supervised by someone remotely. So for every service they receive in special education. I think that's kind of it for the highlights that I have. I wasn't here, apologies, in August. We had a very successful extended school year program, which is the program that we provide for students with disabilities who tend to lose skills over big breaks. And so we pull them in to give them a little bit extra over the summer to give them a good start in the fall. So that also was successful. And just a shout out to the Kinder Camp. I got to hang out at Kinder Camp quite a bit and got to witness a master teacher, a wonderful teacher. And just, it's very exciting. It was a very exciting investment and the kids were amazing. And I just felt lucky to be a part of that. Any questions? I don't think so. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope it continues to go well.
Thank you.
Statewide conference here later this month too. So her leadership is making a difference for lots of kids, lots of places.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have superintendent reports.
A few things that we haven't touched on here tonight. Chair McNeil and directors. One, I just want to clarify, earlier I talked about the fact that your superintendent is inexperienced and hasn't built a school before. I just want to go back and explain my intentions there was really just to say, we're going to be cautious at every turn. We're not going to be haphazard. We're going to be conservative. We're going to be prudent. And part of my commitment to you is that those resources that sit in addition to the bond revenue itself, we're not going to be committing those funds until things are really, really clear about the progress of the project. So it's hard to say where those funds will go at this moment in time, but just want to be clear that if I had more experience, I might be able to say a little more, but generally I'm saying, I don't know. And we're going to communicate and be transparent. I don't know to the extent that it has to, as I said earlier, go towards the middle school project itself. So a couple other quick things here. We are scheduled to play varsity football tomorrow night against Sweet Home. That's what I'm reporting. We are scheduled to compete against Sweet Home tomorrow night. I had a conversation with the superintendent this evening. Unfortunately, they experienced a threat of violence and the details of which he has shared with me. And at the end of the day, no threat was specific to our campus or this football game, but in collaborating and supporting his decision-making around closing school in Sweet Home tomorrow, we're going to support the decision to err on the side of caution and have no varsity competition against Sweet Home tomorrow night. So that game will be moved. At this point in time, it's looking like it may be Saturday. I don't know the exact time. There was some discussion with the athletic director earlier about whether it be an evening game, which, at the end of the day, that lots of people have plans on Saturday nights, or whether or not it'll be an afternoon game again, as we did last weekend. But I appreciate staff and coaching, this is an unexpected turn of events, and we're doing what we would hope others would do for us, and that is support Sweet Home and erring on the side of caution. So, but yeah, obviously, word is out, Mitch, and I'm glad that that's out because it's going to affect kids and families and decision making. Measles is a word that you might have heard on the news lately regarding an outbreak in the country, an outbreak in the state. The last measles in Oregon were reported over a month ago. I think that probably means that it might be, and this, I'm not the health expert, but Dr. President talked about the fact that that's a good indicator. I will share with you that back in 2019, this is pre-COVID, and we know so much more about measles than we ever did about what happened thereafter. But in 2019, I heard really clearly that if I couldn't demonstrate for my employer here serving kids that I was immune to the measles because of how contagious it is, that I would have to be excluded from job, excluded from work for 21 days. And the way that you do that clarification is you either, hey, I had the measles as a kid, and here's my record of it, or I had a measles shot when I was a kid, and here's my record of it, or I've taken a titer test. I don't know if Linda's a nurse, might know more about that than I, but there's a test you can take that determines you're still immune. And knowing that I was gonna have to exclude myself if I had the measles, I went and actually did what we were gonna ask our staff to be prepared to do in the event of a measles outbreak in a school. And that is that we have to exclude those who can't demonstrate they're immune. We're not talking about vaccinations. We're just talking about excluding anyone who's not immune to prevent the spread of measles. And so I went and got the titer test, and even though I'd been immunized as a child, I discovered that I wasn't no longer immune. And so I got the vaccination. I'm immune. I won't be excluded if we do have an outbreak of the measles. I can stay on deck and run the school district. And really the message for our employees is the same across the rest of the state. Be prepared. If you have an outbreak at your school, we're going to need to just confirm that you're immune. We're not going to be taking people's confidential HIPAA records, none of that. We're not going to be, health decisions are individual decisions. This isn't about vaccinations. This is about just following the compliance of excluding non-immune individuals for 21 days if we have an outbreak in schools. So letting you know that it's out there, and I'm not concerned. It wasn't an issue that caused us to close schools back in 2019. And my hope is that we stay the course. But I wanted you to be aware here this evening that that's the word on the wire with state health officials.
So obviously not just the people that aren't immune, but the person that came down with it as
Right.
well.
Right. But everybody else, if you have that positive titer test, or you had the virus, or you had the vaccination, business as usual. So, a couple other things I just wanted to highlight. Maybe I should have started here. I just really appreciate the principals and our teachers and our support staff and getting the school year up and running. Mr. Dalton's not the only principal that has said, what a great start to the school year. It's because of hard work that's happening on the front lines. It doesn't mean we haven't had bumps. Andrea talked about some of those in communication. We've had bumps with transportation. We've had bumps with long lunch lines. But our staff, I just really appreciate our principals' leadership working through those and getting to the place where we've got a school year up and running. Last thing, I just want you to be aware, I was invited to submit an application to serve on the Oregon Educator Benefit Board of Directors that provides oversight over the administration of health insurance for educators in the state of Oregon. And it's a governor appointed position, so it will be something that you might see out there. It's not going to conflict with my leadership in the district. Just an added piece to ensure that I'm providing some service, and if there's anything I can do to have influence over making sure the educators' benefits are competitive financially, and that we're using public dollars to provide those benefits in an efficient way, effective way, I want to do that. So in case you see it, I just didn't want you to be surprised. That is my report, unless you have any other questions on other topics.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, now we have board comments. We'll start with you, Rob.
I'm just excited to see outdoor school coming back. Good job on that. I know there's been some issues in the past years, and that was a exciting thing when I was coming up, and I'm just happy about that. I'm glad to see everything moving along good with the bond measure and getting going on the school, new middle school. I'm excited to see the progress that we have already.
This is the 23rd year since 9/11, the day after. This is the day that my identical twin sister was killed by a drunk driver, so please don't drive drunk. And I'm excited about the bond passing and everything going on so well, so. I'm just so going so very well.
I'm speechless.
Anybody need eggs? No.
I got a lot of eggs. I got a lot of chickens. Gotta go home and board them up right now. But no, I'm happy with everything that's going on for the district.
Okay.
Nothing. Check.
No septic issues, not.
Not at my house.
I just wanted to bring up that Linda and I had the opportunity to attend the district back to school, was it? I think we both arrived a little bit late, but we caught the tail end of it and got to sit with some staff and have some lunch. So it was nice to see so many people there, and then to feel the energy that was in the room and hear about some of the Olympic torch races and different things that they had going on. If I didn't have to rush back to work, I would have enjoyed seeing like some of the development classes that they were talking about having, but it was nice to attend. And Tony did a good job too.
The high school was a lot of fun with Dr. Atherton there. He's great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Great work.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, I just have one more thing. Thank you to the volunteers on our committee, because you're sacrificing your time and for the community. So appreciate you.
I say we double their pay.
Okay, next up, we have upcoming meetings, September 24th, Policy Committee meeting, 6 p.m. at the district office, September 26th, work session at 7 p.m. district office, and October 10th, business meeting, 7 p.m. at district office. Thank you, Linda. Moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
Go Beavers. Go Beavers.
Go Beavers. Go Ducks.
I promised not to denigrate the University Board of Ducks.